Hey, so all of you guys that registered, excited to be here for this training. We got a little bit of a change of plans, and Chuck and Adam and Lauren are amazing because they really jumped for us because our instructor for today is having complications with his surgery that he had. Appendix. So some complications, and late yesterday, he says, "I'm so sorry, but I can't be there." So we reached out to Chuck, who is our sponsor today, and Sydney's going to kind of introduce him and mention how they kind of met and how this came about. But sorry for you guys that are on Zoom, but Chuck actually made lunch for us today. We got ribs and pulled pork and beans.
He's been working on this.
Oh, my God. And then we're like, "Hey, do you want to present too?" It was a natural first choice, though, because we could have got somebody to fill in, but he's going to be here anyway. Gives Adam and Lauren and Chuck more of an opportunity to, I mean, that's why he's sponsoring. He wants to meet you guys, build some relationships, help you with your business. Now we're gonna get a little bit more instruction from him as well, instead of just like, "Hey, this is where I am, here's some cards, reach out, let's connect." So kind of a double whammy for you for Chuck today. It's kind of interesting how it all came about, that he's actually here, and that's why I asked Sydney to come up.
Yeah, so speaking of opportunities, so I did an open house a few weeks ago on one of Lynn's beautiful listings. And Chuck actually popped in because he was out, and he's a lender, right? He's out looking at a house for a client that he saw signs in the area, and he was like, "You know what? This house, this area actually reminds me of someone I'm working with." So he pops in. I've never, in my experience in open houses, I've never had a lender do that. So that kind of made him stand out, but also he was just super easy to talk with. And we connected right away. And Tina actually, that isn't on here, she was with me, and they made a good relationship out of it as well. So, and now he's here. So you never know the opportunities with something like an open house. I always say, if you can have like a takeaway, just having like a new relationship, even if you don't get like a lead necessarily, it's worth it, right?
Yeah, we talk about serendipity and luck a lot, at least I do, and how we make our own, right? You gotta be putting yourself out there, and I think that's super cool. You're out there window shopping for your borrower, finding a house. So we don't have a slide deck today. We're gonna have a dialogue though, and Lauren and Adam are gonna jump in. I think we already mentioned Lauren's in Eugene, Oregon, and Adam's in Spokane, Washington. All kind of on the team. And for you guys that aren't local in the different states, they do lending in your state.
Absolutely.
So Chuck, tell us a little bit more about you, and then let's kind of rip it.
All right. Well, everyone, it's really nice to be here today. I appreciate the opportunity. I love the word serendipitous, and I think that kind of ties into what happened here when I met Sydney and Tina at the open house a few weeks ago. We really hit it off, and I just think the world of them. Myself, my name's Jonathon, but everyone calls me Chuck, so it's a long story, so I'll get it over first, and then I'll introduce Adam and Lauren, who are, I'm really grateful that they jumped on today because they are going to add value to your business 100%. They're awesome. So everyone calls me Chuck. When I was a little kid, I must have been a little lactose intolerant or something. And all my older brothers affectionately referred to me as the little upchucker. That's what happens when you got 3 little brothers. And so it's just been kind of a family nickname that has stuck with me over the years. And then when I was a young man, I moved from Utah. I finished at Utah State, and I moved back to the Northwest up in Portland. And I went out for a new rugby team. And on this rugby team, there were like 7 other guys named John on the team. So they said, "Hey, you got a nickname?" And I said, "Well, I know my family's called me Chuck." And bam, I just moved to this new location. Everyone that I had met or was meeting were all kind of new friends. And so Chuck stuck. And then I eventually joined the Air Force, and I served 20 years in the United States Air Force and just retired last February. And as I was preparing to retire from the Air Force, like, what am I going to do when I grow up? What's my next step in life? And I was really impressed with the realtor that I worked with, and we bought our house in 2013 in Klamath Falls, Oregon. She's a pro. She really walked us through the process, and that stuck with me. And it always made real estate feel like something that I wanted to be around, be involved with. And so I reached out to Allison York, and I had a great conversation with her. I actually met her originally through another rugby channel. I played with her husband years ago. And that's how I got into real estate. I started with Windermere. I did a year with Windermere down in Klamath Falls, Oregon, and I actually switched over to EXP and spent my last couple of years with EXP. And following my retirement last year from the Air Force, I moved back to Utah, where I'm from, and call home. And my favorite lender was Summit Funding back in Oregon, and they reached out to me and said, hey, would you ever consider, or have you ever thought about getting into mortgage lending? And it hadn't even occurred to me, but the more we talked, like you talked about serendipity, it was the right time for me, and it was advantageous. It was just an excellent opportunity to be with a team that I adore, that I love, and I'm so grateful that at this short notice, I mean, this just popped up yesterday afternoon, and I was already planning on cooking, but now we have an opportunity to meet all of you, introduce ourselves, introduce Summit Funding, and hopefully add value where we can help grow your business. We've been in the business for a long time. We're a private mortgage bank out of Sacramento, California. We've been in the business since 1995. We're privately owned, and we do a lot of volume every year. We're licensed all across the United States, and that's why I'm excited that Adam and Lauren are able to jump on with us today. So without further ado, they're going to do the majority of our training today. I'm relatively new to the business, super excited and growing, but these guys are leaders. They're both Scotsman Award leaders, which is the top 1% of mortgage lenders across the country. Adam runs a branch in Spokane, Washington, Liberty Lake, actually. And Lauren is out of our Eugene, Oregon branch. So I know that there are some people that are on the call from various states. I think it would be wise for all of you to connect with both of these guys. Both Adam and Lauren are involved in coaching. Coaching is super big within our organization. We have next level coaching. Our CEO, Todd Screama, is paramount in coaching. It's a huge aspect of his everyday life. And he encouraged all of us to participate in that. Have people in your life that hold you accountable, that help you, train you, and guide you so we can all grow and be better. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Adam Noon out of Liberty Lake, Washington, and Lauren Levasseur out of Eugene, Oregon.
Well, we're doing that. Add your contact info into the chat.
Okay.
Since we don't have a slide. So look in the chat for Chuck's contact info, guys, and take it away, Adam, Lauren.
Awesome.
Thank you, Chuck.
Yeah, thank you, Chuck. Hello, everybody. Just to double check, everybody can see us, right? Y'all can hear us?
Yep, we got a monitor here in the office.
Okay, cool.
Perfect.
I know I look young, but I have the tech skill of like a 90-year-old man. So if like my computer doesn't work, I call somebody else in the office. I'm really bad at it. So yeah. All right. Well, guys, I am super excited to be here and chatting with you today. Here's kind of how this flow is going to work. We're going to chat with you about kind of three main subjects. We're going to go over what's going on in the market, the interest rates, and what's happening with the Fed and the Bank of England and the new king, and why there's a new king and all of a sudden our rates are going up. We're going to go over some of that information today. We're also going to go over how to create and establish a game plan for you to navigate the next several months in this business, because there's going to be a lot of people that don't have a game plan. I think there's an old saying, failure to plan is planning to fail, you know, so we have to have a plan and ready to go through the next several months and what that navigation is going to look like. The last thing we're going to go over is why it's important. Oh, hey, there you all are. Turn the camera around. Look at that.
Yeah, you don't need to stare at the wall.
I was going to talk to a brick wall. I did a presentation one time and literally nobody could get the camera on, but they could all see me. So I just talked to like a blank screen for an hour. It was very strange. Very strange. Yeah. So and then the last thing we're going to talk about is realtor lender partnerships and why that matters right now more than ever. Because I'm sure all of you guys as real estate agents, you know, you never hear from any lenders that ever want to get coffee or lunch with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
They all do. That's a joke. Thank you for the one lady nodding her head. The rest of you guys, don't worry. We'll wake you up. We'll wake you up as we get going. Okay. So cool. Let me do this before we get going. I want to just introduce. I know Chuck did a great job introducing us. I want to introduce my friend Lauren. Now, she won't brag about herself. Let me brag about her. She's an absolute loan technician is what she's good at. She's phenomenal. She started in the business, started off as a loan partner to one of the top loan originators in the entire country, Robin Levasseur, who's now the executive vice president of sales. And she's worked her way up through the industry to be literally a leader in the industry. Both of us are national coaches within our program. We coach a lot of lenders. We coach a lot of realtors. She's phenomenal. So throughout the presentation, we're going to be pitching it over to her, and you're going to see she's 10 times smarter than me. She's the brains, I'm the beauty, obviously. Okay, so yeah. Thank you again for the one lady laughing and nodding her head in the front. I like her a lot. She's going to be my favorite through this whole thing.
They love you guys. She's the
That's
plant.
right. That's right. She's the plant, right? She's the softball questions too, coming later. Yeah.
And
Cool.
thank you, Adam. And you know, guys, Adam, there isn't a better person to learn from than Adam. Adam actually hasn't been in quite as long as me, but I'll tell you what, he has grown much faster than me when it comes to production and kind of just his status in the industry. So he is in the top % of my company, top 1% of originators in the country. Came from car sales actually, which is why he's so witty. So he's really, really good at what he does. You know, being national coaches means that we are super confident in what we're telling you, and we know that the process that we're going to teach you today actually works. We do want to hit you with some market updates though in terms of interest rates, because like he said, all lenders are calling you. So if they're not calling you to tell you that the last 4 days have been a roller coaster, they should be. So Adam, I'm going to let you talk about kind of mortgage-backed securities, what's going on in the market, and then we'll jump into what we're going to do over the next, really guys, you know, 6 months. We've got a long winter ahead of us. So go ahead, Adam.
Cool. Let's start with this. Those of you guys that are in the room that can't race each other up and type into the comment chat, I need to get some questions out of you guys first. So if you are not in the room there, go ahead and throw into the chat. What are you hearing about what's going on with interest rates? What are some of the things you're hearing? What are some of the stuff that's going on? I see people in the back doing this. Okay. That's true. Yes, that's true. That's very much true. What do you guys, what are you hearing though? Somebody give me some feedback. Don't all jump at once. Lady in the back who went like this. What's the feedback you're hearing?
That rates are rising and there's uncertainty across the pond there.
Gotcha. Yep. Rates are rising. There's uncertainty. Let's see, somebody else. My favorite lady in the front, who's the only one nodding her head and laughing. What are you hearing about the rates?
About the same, just they're going, who knows what they're doing, going up, trying to level up stuff.
What are the rates that you guys are hearing right now? What are some of the numbers that are being thrown out by other lenders that you're hearing on your clients and all that?
High sixes.
High six,
High six,
7.
Yeah, high 6s, 7s, the consensus.
Who's saying, you know, there's all this hesitancy to say 7, right? Everybody's like high 6s. You got lenders that are advertising 699. Like that's a 7, right? That's a 7.
Can I share a text with you that I got this morning?
Yeah.
I got a text this morning from some clients and said 7.125%. I'm dead. That was the wife, followed by the husband that says F the government with these inflated rates.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, I don't know where everybody stands politically, but I will tell you there is a lot to do with the government. So we'll leave it at that. So yes, there's a lot going on with the interest rates. 7% is really like, let's just rip the Band-Aid off. We're in the 7s. People are in the 7s. They want to buy a secondary home. They're in the 7s. They want to buy an investment property. They're in the 7s. The few lenders that I'm hearing, there's still lenders out there presenting 5.99 interest rates. In fact, I had a client 3 weeks ago send me a quote from another mortgage lender, and she texted me. Now I had her at about 6.25. Remember, this is 3 weeks ago. This is about 6.25. And she texted me and said, "Can you give me a 4.625?" I said, "No." Let me solve that one for you. No, I'm not going to be competitive and do that. No, the answer is no. She goes, "Well, this other lender is giving me a 4.625. And he said that the closing costs and everything else are super reasonable." I said, "Cool, send me the quote." So she got a quote from him, sent it over. It is a 4.625. You guys ready for this? Over $20,000 in prepaid interest on a $300,000 house.
Oh my goodness.
No, listen to me. That's highway robbery. That's not fair. That's not reasonable closing costs. Here's the reality. Her down payment on a $300,000 house was going to be $15,000. Her closing costs were going to be $27,000. She was going to pay $12,000 more in fees and upfront interest than she would even in principal reduction to buy the home with that quote. All to save about $100 a month in payment. Do you think that lender was trying to pull a fast one?
Absolutely.
You know what that lender's doing right now?
Jail time.
Who said that? You're quickly becoming my new favorite over there. Yes, yes. No, he's not even in the business anymore. I just looked him up. He got out of the business 2 weeks ago. Desperation is what the name of the game is. So the reason I'm saying all of this is because right now what's happening is the magic word everybody's been hearing is the word inflation. Here's what inflation does. Inflation weakens the US dollar. That's all it does. Weakens the dollar. It means that you have too much money in. Let me give an example. If I held up a Michael Jordan rookie card right now, any sports fans, any Jordan fans in the room?
Yeah.
2 of you guys. Okay, go watch The Last Dance. More of you guys will be Jordan fans after that. So Jordan.
I know your audience.
Oh, I'm sorry. If I had a Karl Malone rookie card, hey, John Stockton's from Spokane, by the way. So he lives here. He's in our town. He's a Gonzaga grad. So let's say I had a John Stockton rookie card, okay? And I had one. That thing would be worth $100,000. Autographed, $250. But if I had a table here with 10,000 autographed John Stockton rookie cards on the table, how much would they be worth? Not $250. And so what happens when you print too much money and you flood the country with money like they did through COVID is eventually you wind up having to pay for that, and that's inflation. You weaken the US dollar. So mortgages are different than the Fed when the Fed raises the Federal Reserve rate, okay? Last week, the Fed raised the Fed rate another 75 basis points. They did it in June, they did it in July. They also did it back in May and in March. Not as big, but they did. So when they raise the Fed rate, what they're doing is they're trying to slow down how fast people use what's called consumer credit. Credit cards, car loans, boat loans, all that. You go to buy a car loan today and you've got an 800 credit score. A year ago, it was 0% interest with rebates. Today, you're going to be paying $499 to get your interest rate on a car. So what they do is they raise that. It's the rate in which money is traded to each other. Mortgages are different. Mortgages are built on the back of securities that are fixed over a period of time. So let me give an example. If I was going to give my favorite lady in the front here $100, I gave you $100 and I said I want 110 in return. Okay. But then my $100 weakened to where the value of it was only worth $95. If you give me my 10 in return, I'm not getting an actual 10, I'm getting 5 in return because the value weakened. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So what can I do to get my 110? I can do 2 things. I can raise the rate on you and make you pay me $15 extra, or I can charge you $5 up front because I know it's going to weaken, so I still get the same rate of return at the end as an extra fee. That's what's happening with rates right now. That's why when the mortgage lenders come out and they say closing costs are going to be $15,000. Yes, I know some of you guys that have been doing real estate for a while, the costs were $5,000 or $6,000, right? Closing costs shouldn't be more than 2%. Well, guess what? They're a lot higher now because the investment banks, they don't want to buy these loans. None of these guys want to hold on to interest rates at 7%, knowing that every recession we've ever had back to the 1950s, the interest rates go down. Well, shocker, spoiler alert, everybody, we're in a recession now. And the interest rates will come down at some point. They always do. It's historically proven. So when they come down, let's say it's 9 months or a year, who wants to be the investment bank holding a bunch of 6.5% and 7% rates, knowing full well in 12 months that client's going to leave you to go refinance? Nobody. So what are they doing to make their money? They're charging upfront interest. So every lender is struggling with this right now. Every lender, because they're moving it so fast. The last thing I'm going to say, which is why we've seen in the last 4 days, if you have any client that you have not talked to in more than a week, you need to get with the lender. The lender might not even be in business anymore, by the way. You need to get them over to Chuck so we can give them the real information. But let's say they're not even in business anymore, and that's happening right now. What you need to do, if you haven't talked to them in a week, they're not pre-approved where they were a week ago. Like if you call a lender and he tells you something different than me, let me be a little cocky for a minute. I do a lot more deals than he does. I'm telling you, they're not pre-approved from a week ago. They're just not. If the lender says it, he's scared. He doesn't want to acknowledge the price went up. That's what's going on. So Last thing I'm gonna say about this, why in the last 4 days has everything gone crazy? Not only for business days, by the way. Not only did the Fed come out last week and announce a Fed rate hike, but Jerome Powell, the head of the Fed, his comments afterward. Jerome Powell, by the way, he kills it in his presentations, absolutely kills it. You watch consumer confidence go super high, and then they get to the Q&A. He just crumbles in the Q&A every time. It's the funniest thing to watch. If you ever want to watch something funny, watch a Jerome Powell Q&A. It's like he doesn't like contradicts himself and everything else. So what happened is a lot of confidence was built into what the Fed was saying, and now there's no confidence because Jerome Powell said two things. One, we plan on raising the rate as many times as it takes to get the inflation number back down. And two, we are going to do our best and see what happens. That doesn't instill a lot of confidence in traders when it comes to the people that are buying and trading mortgage-backed securities. They don't like that. At the same time, Jerome Powell gives us a lack of confidence. I don't know if anybody heard the news. Did you guys all hear the big news from a few weeks ago? The Queen of England died. Has anybody missed that story? No? That's a joke, by the way. Everybody knows the Queen died. Thank you. The lady in the front's cracking up. She's my favorite. Chuck, give her extra ribs today, okay?
Her name's Emily.
Emily, my girl. Love it.
My
Love it.
girl. She's
So-
like, "Why don't you come?"
She's like, why did I sit in the front?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So the Queen died and we have a new king. Now, the king comes out, the European Minister of Finance comes out. They have a full-on economic plan that they want to implement, just like in America when there's a new president, when there's a new monarch or ruler. What happens is they introduce a new economic plan they want to do moving forward. On top of Jerome Powell's comments in America, they have a lot of changes they're doing to finance. Now think about it. They were ruled by a lady for, what was it, 50 years, 70 years she sat on the throne. So they haven't had any change like this in a long time. And now they have a lot of change. On Monday, the euro shrunk in its value. It got devalued. And they're introducing some massive spending policies over in Europe. And the European bond traders aren't overly confident that America has any control over the inflation rate, which is causing them to have lack of control over mortgage rates. Does this all make sense? Basically, nobody's confident in what's going on with the finances in America and Europe right now. Nobody. So if you're in real estate, what a great time to be in real estate. It's going to be fun. The rates are going up. If a lender walks into your office and they're like, we still have really low rates, he's not going to be in business next week. It's better for us to talk about it. It's better for us to present real information to our clients. The new king wants to spend a lot of money in Europe. It devalued the euro. They don't have confidence in America because America's saying we're probably going to have to spend more money and raise rates to try and calm inflation. So what's the next few months look like? Your guess is as good as mine. What I do know, this is all the bad news, by the way. Lauren and I are going to get to the good news here in a second, okay? This is all the bad news. Whew. You guys are like, why'd we come to this? Debbie Downer over here. My God, does this guy have any good news for us? Yes, I have good news for you. Hold on a second. We'll get there. Okay? Emily, tell them all to hold on a second, okay, Emily?
Hold on a second, friends.
Remember we need it, let's go.
Yeah, right. Yeah. He's like, just get me to the meat food already. Okay. So there's a lot of lack of confidence. Here's the reality. We have to be super clear and super transparent with our buyers. And this is where I'm going to start pitching over to Lauren in a second here, but there's an old saying that says bull markets, you guys know the difference between a bull market and a bear market? A bull market pushes the market forward. That's when everything's going up. Stocks are going up, values are going up, crypto's going up, everything goes up. That's a bull market. A bear market is like in a recession. The bears hibernate. They pull everything back and they want to go into hibernation and wait for a bit. We're in a bear market right now, okay? There's an old saying that bull markets will make you money, but bear markets will make you rich. And what does that mean? It means, here's the good news, Emily, you ready? It means everything's on sale. If you can afford to buy a house right now, didn't the values go down a little bit? Aren't buyers, you're not getting 15 people making an offer in the first hour on a listing right now, right? Does everybody agree? You got some options. And houses right now aren't going for 50 or 70 or $100,000 over asking. Sometimes they're going for less. That's a good thing. If people can afford to buy right now and they can buy up real estate before the next bull market comes, Well, guess what? They're going to get a good value today. It's okay that their payment's a little bit higher and we can refinance them. We can get them a lower rate later. Or as you've heard most lenders say around town right now, right? Marry the house, date the rate. Marry the house, date the rate. You don't need to be locked into this rate forever. But if you can't afford to buy, we need to encourage people to still invest, still buy. It's a great time to do so. Now better than it was over the last year or two, because they can actually get a deal on these properties and they can get some seller credits and they can buy down the rate a bit if they need to. This is a great time to buy. It's not a bad time. It's just scary because a lot of people don't understand what's happening with the money. So they come out and they're like, it's the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. Calm down, Turbo. And any lender that thinks it's the end of the world, and the real estate agents that think it's the end of the world, and all of them, guess where they're going to be in a month or two?
Out of business.
Serving drinks somewhere, probably. Or they're going to go into insurance or home flipping. That's my other thing. Oh, you got to have a side gig right now, Adam. You got to have a side gig. No, I don't. I just do mortgage loans. I just tell people it's still a good time to buy. I don't need a side gig. All right, let me pitch this over to Lauren. That's a lot of information. But Lauren, what do you think?
Gosh, I think that you bring up a lot of good points, Adam. And I think one of the things that distinguishes Summit, and this is not a Summit pitch, but something that all lenders should be doing is that, we can't dismiss the interest rate and the fact that a lot of people are quite literally priced out of buying at this point, right? Potentially it is not a good time to buy. Let me tell you the people that should buy a house right now. Anyone that is renting, anyone that is relocating, anyone that is getting a divorce, anyone that recently got a settlement. Now, how big is that market, right? That's huge. The people that should be buying right now are first-time home buyers, are people that are going through major life changes, really. The people that maybe aren't going to be our target client right now is definitely going to be what we like to call move-up buyers, right? They might choose to sit in their house that has a 3-bedroom when they actually need a 4 for a little bit. The kids are going to share, but those are the people that might sit still. But there is still a vast majority of people that need to buy. Quite literally anyone that's renting, right? We are throwing money away. So that's kind of all I'm going to say on that. I'm going to switch gears here though. We're going to talk about how to create an intentional real estate business. And the reason I'm going to talk about that is because, guys, we do have a long winter ahead of us. Okay. Pretty much starting next month into March, that February, March, that's our slow season, right? And so what we have an opportunity to do right now is really set some processes in place while also creating new business. And I love that about this time. It's something that we always do, specifically around the first, right? We're always like, these are new things I'm going to start in the new year. No, let's start now, right? Rates are higher than they've ever been. Not ever, but to new buyers, they are. And so we're going to talk a little bit about creating an intentional real estate business. I do have a question for everybody though. And if you want to reply in the chat, you can. But my question for you is, how many people know how many escrows they have closing in the month of October? Do you know the number? Right off the top of your head, could you tell me you have 1, 2, 3? 0? It's okay. But my point here is, how many you have closing, right? You know how many contracts you have in escrow, correct? You could just tell me. 0. That's okay, Kathy, that's all right. So my next question is, how many of you know how many leads that you got in the month of September that could potentially be October closings? Do you know the number? How many leads do you have right now?
A lot of people looking around at each other.
Yeah, going, I don't know, right? I don't know. So here's my point, guys. We are so focused, hyper-focused on the number of closings that we have. We don't actually focus on the amount of leads that we have. And that's what turns into closings, right? We're so focused on that and we're working in a transaction. We think our best work is done for the 30, well, right now we'll say 15 to 21 days that someone is in escrow, right? That's our most important time. That's what's making us the money, right? It's actually not true. What's making us money at this point is the activity that is generating that business. We have to be super hyper focused on getting the leads in the door. Otherwise, we're not going to have any closings in November, December, right? January, February, March. Those are going to be hard months for us. So everything that we do right now, we need to be able to track our leads. We need to track how they're converted, right? Meaning they're pre-approved. And we need to track then if they got into escrow. Those statistics are very, very important, right? So every single morning I sit down with my assistant And when I didn't have an assistant, it was just me. And I go over how many leads I have for the month. For example, this month I have 42 leads. My goal is 50. Okay, so I need 8 more before the end of business and or before the end of the month, and I will not miss. I know that that's going to lead me to X amount of closings in the month of October. Okay, I also track my conversion. I want to be up to 80% credit pull at all times. For you guys, that is quite literally having someone pre-approved, right? And your conversion rate might be just a little bit lower. That is an important number to track. Now, as realtors, I know a lot of you are saying, gosh, you know, I've got sticky notes everywhere. I could go count them real quick, right? That person talked about buying a house, had a conversation with them last week. We're going to ditch the sticky notes. We're going to get you what's called a lead tracker so that you can quite literally write down every single person that said, I am interested in buying a house. That is a lead. I don't care if it's the taxi driver or the person that made you coffee this morning, that is a lead. And that will remind you to follow up with them. Okay. So one thing I'm going to say here, and then I'll kind of get into there's 7 steps here to creating an intentional business, but this I thought is a pretty interesting quote. I've been told there's going to be a recession and I've chosen not to participate. Okay. Walt Disney said that. My business this year will not go down, even though production is down. My income will not go down just because production is down, right? Overall, our industry is down. I don't know. Well, mine specifically, mine, Adams and Chuck's, we're down 60% from where we were last year. My production is not down. My activity is not down. My vacation numbers are down, but I am not down. Okay, so that's super, super important right now. We have to have that mindset. Just because we're in a recession doesn't mean my business is in a recession. Okay, so the first thing, and this kind of ties into that, is we need to, and if you have something to write this down, these are 7 steps to creating an intentional real estate business, and they have to go in order. Okay, you're going to create a clear vision. And I don't think there's a better time than October 1st to get started on this. Now that seems very vague, right? Have a clear vision. Well, gosh, I want to close as many units as I can. How many? What do you want your 1099 to say at the end of the year? Right? I'm going to go a step further. I want you to create your ideal day. For me, an ideal day is 20 outbound calls, 3 of which are to people I don't know, and I talk about mortgage every single time. It is also seeing 3 people a day. For you, it could potentially be 5 outbound calls a day, 2 people that you don't know, where you talk about real estate.
Hey guys,
That is a fine place to start.
let me jump in here real quick. I want to point out something. If you guys aren't catching this, she's being very specific. She's not being super general. Like, how many of you guys wake up in the day and you're like, you know what, I'm going to be super productive today? What does that mean? Right? So a goal without a number and a date is just a dream. That's all it is. A goal without a number and a date is just a dream. Today, I will talk to 25 people and meet 3 people face to face. That's a number with a date that's attainable, that creates outcomes. She's being specific. Like some of you guys, like if you talk about a goal, you're like, I want to go on vacation. Well, what does that mean? In July, I'm going to go on a 7-day cruise. That's specific and plannable. Okay, sorry, I want to interrupt.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. The other thing that when creating this vision, not only are you creating an ideal day, you're also going to create for me, and this is super important, guys, your ideal client. Well, gosh, my ideal client is $1 million cash, right? Not mine. No, send it my way. But like, I get that. But really, have we ever had the time sucks, right? The people that really in our gut, we know shouldn't buy a house, and they take up so much of your time, and they're a little bit rude, and the wife doesn't like you, but the husband doesn't answer your phone calls, so you have to talk to the wife. That's not our ideal client. Like, and I'm not telling you to fire that client, but I'm telling you that when you intentionally have a client in your head that is going to work with you and your team at the highest level, you will draw in that energy, right? You will draw in that client. You will advertise yourself to that client when you have identified the client that you want. Okay, so this is all still about having a clear vision. And then the last thing on this piece of it, on task number 1, is I want you to have a very clear client experience, and you're going to execute it 100% of the time. In writing, on a checklist, You will never miss these steps. I don't care how quick the transaction is or how slow it is, you will hit every single one of those steps. Okay, for us, it is a pre-approval appointment, a disclosure appointment, a Tuesday and a Friday update every single time, in addition to milestone updates. Okay, it is a clear to close gift. It is a closing gift. It is a 1 month call, a 6 month call, and a 1 year call for every single person that goes through our through getting a loan with us. Okay, that is an ideal client experience. Okay, so number 2 on this list to creating an intentional real estate business is I want you to create both a life and a business plan. Okay, I start with a life plan because a lot of times we are very wishful, right? I wish I made $1 million, or I want to take a vacation to another country, or that kind of thing, but we don't actually set it into motion, right? We're not setting these kinds of goals or visions for our life. They are simply just wants. We quite literally have to sit down with our spouse or our partner or our parents or whoever it is that we're kind of sharing our life with, right? And say, this is what I want my life to look like. That will be impactful in your business because you will have a clear road onto what your activity is going to, what activity you're going to do in order to make that life plan. And then a business plan obviously is very simple. It's how many leads do I need to get this many closings to make this much money? You go the other way. I want to make this much money, which means I need this many closings, which means I need this many leads, right? And Chuck can help you with that math. We know the math like the back of our hand. Don't hesitate to reach out to us. You want to figure out how to fill out a P&L, right? That's part of a business plan. And I'm going kind of quick here, guys, because I can see I'm running out of time, but create a life and a business plan. So that's number 2. Number 3, if there is ever a time to create systems and structures, it is now. Have you ever wanted to make a first-time homebuyer booklet to hand to all your clients? Do it now. A pamphlet, right? You want to get your car wrapped? I don't care what you do. Right now is the time to put into place systems and structures that you are seeing other successful agents do and implement them into your business. Okay. I would argue that you make a list of about 5 structures that you want to do, and know in your head and in your heart that you're probably only going to implement 3, and that is okay. Okay. But create a list of systems and structures that you want to implement in your business and start putting them in motion, and put a date on it. By 1/1 of 23, I will be doing this, right? By 10/1, I'm starting this. So that's number 3. Number 4 is if any of you are on a team, or you have somebody else with you, or even if that's, a principal broker and you're just under him, I want you to define leadership and define delegation. Okay, this is number 4. Anytime you delegate something to anybody, even your spouse or your kids, it has to be who, what, where, when, why. The only time somebody doesn't complete a task is because A, they didn't know how, or B, they didn't want to. If you've taken care of they don't know how, then they didn't want to. And potentially at this time, it's time to right size, especially going into the months that we're going into, right? So number 4 there, define leadership and delegation. And what if you are a solo agent? Well, then that means you're delegating to yourself, or you're figuring out what the things what things in your business you can let go of. What things are you doing right now that aren't serving you? Okay. That would be what costs can you cut at this point? Are you making any money off paying for internet leads? That might be something that you decide that you're going to do away with. That's leadership within yourself. I was a solo team for about a year. I met every single morning, 8 a.m. with myself, my to-do list, and my phone. I wrote down all the phone conversations I had the day before, figured out what I needed to do today, made sure that hit my goal of 20 talk tos, 5 people I don't know, and 3 face-to-faces, right? And then I said, I'm doing away with everything else because that does not serve my business. So that's the same. You can be a solo agent and delegate. You can be a solo agent and figure out what kind of leadership you're going to be, because maybe one day you're going to have a team. Okay, that is okay. Number 5, this is the fun one. And everyone hates talking about this. We at Summit, we actually love talking about this. Be clear about your money. Be clear about your money. I really, really, really want the new Jeep Grand Wagoneer. I don't know if anyone's seen it. They're gorgeous. I want it really, really bad. I am not buying one in this market. Right? I told my husband we're doing staycations. I turned off Boomtown for all of my sponsored agents. I said, you know what? We're going boots on the ground. You know what we did instead? We stopped by 5 offices, dentist office, quite literally, with cookies, and said it would be sweet to do a deal with you. And we have 5 leads from that. 5. Okay. We turned off Boomtown. I'm very clear about my money right now. We are not spending any extra money. Gas is expensive, right? Everything is expensive right now. Be very clear about where you're at with your money in terms of what you have with your financial advisor, what your monthly output is, figure out your survival number and try to stay as close to that as you can going into these winter months. I don't care if you have $5 million or $100,000. We have to be clear about our money. Okay. Number 6, know the time to hire. So Kathy, this kind of, works for you. I would say, as soon as you've gotten to a point where you are lacking in family or personal time, or you're feeling like your mindset is shifting into more of a panic mode than a productive mode because you're so out of whack, then it's time to hire. Okay. But don't do it after 1 good month. You need 3 good months where you have enough money to hire someone, and then you can hire someone. 1 month of 3 transactions, 5 transactions, whatever the case may be, doesn't mean we can hire someone right away. We definitely need 3 months. And that's the rule here. 3 months of 15 or more, you can hire another person. After that, it's 3 months of 20 or more, right? We do a little bit, obviously, our business is a little bit different in terms of scale, but that my point there is know when it's time to hire.
Can I jump in real quick on
Yeah.
something on that? Guys, when it comes to right sizing and busy work and all that, I want to clarify something. And I had an old sales coach say this to me one time. I partnered up with this real estate agent who went crazy on social media. I literally got 172 leads from her in 2 months. Like 2 people ever closed. So and this is where I learned this principle. There is a big difference between being busy and successful.
Mm-hmm.
So when Lauren says, when you get to a point that you're lacking in family time and blah, 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 all that stuff, right? That's true. Lacking in family time and personal life, and you're super busy. Busy does not mean successful. You can be an incredibly busy person and still close no real estate transactions. Do you guys all know somebody like that? Is there like a busybody in the office? Don't all look at them. Don't all look at them. Don't point at them. Everybody's looking at the one guy, right? Like there's a busy body and then there's successful people. And there's some people, you ever look at those people too, that just seem like they close 100 transactions a month and they like never work? It's because they've life hacked how to be a super delegator and super intentional with their time and their goals. So when Lauren's saying this, it's not like, well, you know what, Lauren, you're right. Maybe I should hire an assistant, but I've only closed 3 transactions this year, but I'm so freaking busy all the time. Then you need to cut something else out of your life, not hire and delegate, because you're just going to make that person super busy and you still won't have any money. There's a big difference between being busy and successful. Go ahead. Sorry.
Really, no, that's a great point. And then the last one, guys, in terms of like our 7 steps here is really get a coach or a mentor and follow that person. Follow that person to a T. Okay, my coach right now, his name is Jimmy Reed. And Jim Reed has been a coach at the national level. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the core training, both for realtors and lenders. He was a big player in that company. And I quite literally texted him at the beginning of this semester and I said, I will follow you anywhere. That is how diehard I am for Jim Reed. Why? He has more money than me. He closes more business than me, and he has better work-life balance than me. Okay, I'm all in. Whatever Jim Reed tells me to do, I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be a coach that you pay for. A mentor is quite literally someone that does those 3 things, right? Makes more than you, has better life balance, and has more money than you in the bank. That can be a mentor. I would go 1 step further and you say to that person, I want you to be my mentor, and I want you to hold me accountable to the things that you do so that I can get to where you are, right? We all know you are the product of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Show me the people you spend the most time with, and I'll show you where you're going to be in 5 years. I'm not telling you to dump your friends. I'm telling you to get a coach and a mentor, because that will take you through the next 6 to 9 months. If you're struggling. Now, if you're not struggling and you're kicking butt, by all means, keep going. Someone should reach out to you and you should be their mentor, but there is always someone doing more business than you. And I feel like it's a good time to really regroup, find a coach, find a mentor. It could be someone over at Summit, and dig in. That's really all I got. 7 steps.
That's great. That's really solid. You guys, I want to open this up here real quick, and we have one more thing to talk about that we'll go real quick. Does anybody have any questions on those 7 steps?
Hey, Lauren, what was the third thing you said on, I didn't write fast enough, I can't remember. Make more money, better lifestyle than you, when you're talking about a coach. What was the third thing that you mentioned?
In terms of your mentor or your coach,
Yeah.
they have more money than you in the bank. They make more money than you on a monthly basis, and they have better work-life balance than you do. Better work-life balance.
Gotcha.
We're big believers. Part of our coaching and everything is that we're big believers that to be a really good coach, you have to do the work yourself. Like, let me give you an example. I won't send my clients to a broke financial advisor, and I'm not going to send them to an obese personal trainer. Does that make sense? They don't do it. Like, how many of you guys are musicians? Anybody a musician? Guitar, drums? This guy in the front here looks like he plays the piccolo, the jazz piccolo, right? You guys can all see it too, right? Right. So, I'm just picking on him because Emily's so freaking happy next to him. He hasn't been smiling much. We'll get him smiling. Don't worry. So here's the deal. If you play the drums, like I grew up playing the drums, I went out and got a drum coach because I wanted to learn how to play the drums better. And who did I hire? I didn't hire somebody at the same level as me. I hired somebody who's been doing it better than me for a longer period of time. It's the same with working out. Go hire, like, don't hire the flabby dude who looks like he has cheeseburger stains on his shirt. Go hire the guy with a 6-pack if you want to have a 6-pack, and do what he tells you to do, right? How many of you played sports growing up? Nobody played sports growing up? Man, okay, sports growing up. When your coach, when you played sports growing up, what sport did you play? Down here in the front, the piccolo player.
Basketball and football.
Okay, so in football and basketball, I played both of those too. If your football coach told you, what's your name, by the way?
Tyler.
Tyler, you're gonna go run 2 laps. Did you say, you know, coach, that doesn't really fit in with what I wanted to do today. I'm more of a weight guy. You know, did you ever say that to your coach?
That sounds just like me.
Yeah. No, you ran 2 laps. Because if you didn't say, yes, coach, and go run, you were running 4 laps later, right?
Right.
You guys remember this?
Yeah.
Like, where did we as adults in this professional business think it was okay for us to look at somebody who does more than us and has a better work-life balance and makes more money and all that and go, that doesn't really fit what I want to do. Now, I'm not telling you to just go totally submit. I'm the same as Lauren. My coach is Jim Reed as well. Like, if Jim tells me to go stand outside in a Speedo with a sign that says I can get you a home loan, I'll go stand outside in a Speedo with a sign that says I can get you a home loan.
Don't do it.
It ain't a very pretty sight, Chuck. It's not a pretty sight, okay? But I would do it because the guy's super successful. And if he tells me to do something, I'm going to follow him because he's proven that he knows what he's doing. So it's the same thing we talk about inside of this, and this could be anything. Here's what I'm going to tell you, though. The real estate agents that won't do it, if there's a realtor in your office right now, even if there's somebody in the back or whatever who's going like, nah, this doesn't apply to me. Look at your production, look at your money, and look at your work-life balance. Now, maybe you are just super content doing 5 or 6 transactions a year and you don't need a lot of money. I do work with a real estate agent. His name's Lee. He's the president of the Spokane Mountaineers. Like, he only does enough real estate to pay for his lifestyle to go climb mountains. That's all he does. He does not care about doing real estate. He just wants money to go climb mountains and a little flexibility. Cool. If that's your goal, that's great. Guess what he did? He hired a coach so that he could spend even less time doing real estate and more time climbing mountains. So I'm not telling you guys now, where do you start? If you don't know where to start, I mean, you can talk to Jeff and all that. I'm sure that there's plenty of good real estate coaches. Chuck is part of our coaching program as well. And we've got tons of stuff. We've got metrics and tracking. But here's what I'll tell you. The more intentional you are with your business, like if you listen to what Lauren said, the one word that comes out of all 7 steps of that is intentionality. The more intentional you are with the business, the better you're going to be. Everybody turn to the person next to you real quick and tell them how many leads you have for the month so far. Turn and look at the person. Tell them how many leads you have.
5. Okay, good.
Okay, bring it back real quick.
Got something.
How many of you guys had somebody hesitate and they didn't seem like they knew the number right off their top of their head? Anybody? Everybody knew the number off the top of your head? Cool. Turn to the person next to you again and ask them, how many intentional outbound sales calls do you make a day? Intentional outbound sales calls is not the lender that calls you asking for coffee and you calling your home inspector to ask him for a report. That's not intentional sales calls. When it comes to intentional sales calls, it is you picking up the phone and saying, I'm dialing for dollars. Hey, who do you have I can help? How many? Turn to the person next to you and ask.
You need to be better.
I'm changing it. Can you change it?
Can you change it to what you want it to be?
Intentional sales calls. How many of you guys, the number was 30 outbound sales calls a day? That's our number. Lauren, is that your number? That's my number. 30 intentional outbound sales calls a day. Now, I might talk to only 12 or 15 of those people, but I'm intentionally making 30 outbound calls a day. Now, how many of you guys, it was 25? 20? 15? Somebody, come on, 15?
Anybody.
10? Okay, we got a few here at 10. Somebody tell me, are those two that raise their hand at 10, do they do pretty good production?
Yes.
Shocking. Wow, amazing how that works. What about 5? 5 intentional sales calls a day. Even he hesitated in back there. He was like, maybe 5. I see the hand. Yeah, maybe. 1 intentional sales call a day. Okay, all of you guys that didn't raise your hand, do you see why we're here today and we're having this conversation? Intentionality is huge. I'm sorry. Jeff, can I be the bad guy for a second?
Yep.
If you're not intentional in this business, you're not going to make it. I'm in Spokane. If any of you want to fight me, I'm a plane flight away. Come on up, we'll hang out and I'll get a beer with you. But you ain't gonna make it if you're not intentional with your sales activity. You are a salesperson. It drives me crazy when I meet real estate agents that are like, well, I'm not really like a salesperson. I'm more of like a consultant. And you're like, okay, how much business do you do? Because the two that raise their hand with 10 intentional sales calls a day, they do a lot of transactions. They do probably more than some of the other people in the room, right? You're in sales. It's okay to be a salesperson. Being a real estate agent who does sales is not a used car salesman. I was a used car salesman, so I can tell you, not the same. I spent more time in finance than I did in used cars, just to be clear, but it's not the same. So it's okay. It's okay to be a salesperson. It's okay to pick up the phone and say, hey, I got a question for you. Emily, this is Adam over at Summit Funding, or Adam over at EXP. Emily, I got a question for you. I'm really right now being super intentional about helping out some friends of mine. Would you be willing to do me a favor, Emily? Here's the 2 best sales lines you guys need to know around a sales call. Emily, would you be willing to do me a favor? Look at how she's already saying yes. She doesn't even know what the favor is. She's like, yeah, I'd do you a favor. They say, cool, Emily, I really need your help. How does that make you feel, Emily? When I say, will you do me a favor? I really need your help. You want to help,
Good.
right?
Like you, yeah.
She doesn't even know what I'm going to ask her yet. She just wants to help. People are like that. Now, listen, I'm going to come up there. I'm going to do what I do to my 4-year-old. I'm going to come up there and flick you in the lip if you ever say this word right here. Who do you know that wants to buy or sell a house? Don't say that. That's terrible. That's the worst sales line. You got a really good setup to like just crash and burn. Be more intentional. Emily, I really need your help. Would you be willing to do me a favor?
Yeah.
Cool. I'm really looking to help out some renters right now with a new 2-1 buy down program we have that Chuck's going to teach you all about later. And we can get them into a house and stop paying rent. Do you know anybody who's currently renting but has a good job?
Not off the top of my head.
Cool. Would you be
Yes.
willing to think about it and maybe get back to me with a name? Or if I called you in a few days, could you think about it?
Yes.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Emily. That's what I'm looking for right now. How are you, by the way? And then talk about, was that pushy? Was that aggressive? Was that angry? I don't want to go over in time, but do you see how simple it can be? If you called those people, one of the questions in here, how do you get that many people to call? You build it over time, Nathan. Like I've been doing this for 6 years now. Lauren's been doing it for a long time. Like I got so many people I could call, it's ridiculous at this point, but I've worked it over and over and over and over and over and over again. I did 220 transactions last year and I didn't pay for a single lead because I pick up the phone and I call people and I say, would you be willing to do me a favor? I really need your help. That's literally how it works. So we don't have a ton of time, but are there any questions around the stuff we're talking about? Like we want you to build an intentional business. The one last thing I will say is this, before I get into the Q&A here for a second, the last thing I'll say is this, partner up with a really good lender that doesn't BS you. And then here's the key word here that I would tell you as a mortgage lender, show a lot of grace as you're building your relationship. I don't know you very well. If you send me a lead and I don't know you very well, I don't know that you like me doing one thing versus another thing. I don't know that stuff until we've built a business together. Sometimes real estate agents, you hand one out. Now, if the lender just totally just poops the bed, right? And they just disappear for a month and a half, like, okay, don't use them again. They're not a good lender. They'll be flipping burgers here soon. But I can tell you, you're all laughing because it's true. But I can tell you that Chuck is not that way. If you call Chuck, you're going to build a relationship with him. We coach that we don't just want more numbers, we want better relationships. So build a relationship with a lender. Look long-term. Lauren said, show me the 5 people you surround yourself with and we'll build a business with them, right? Like where you'll be in 5 years by the people that you surround yourself with today. When I look at someone like Chuck, I want to build a business with Chuck over time because he has a quality and integrity and attributes about him that I want to work with in the long run. It's okay. He's going to mess up a transaction here and there. You're going to mess up a transaction here and there. But build your relationship in the long run. That's what's important, especially right now. Now's a good time to do it because half the lenders and half the realtors are leaving. So build a partnership with the ones that are sticking around. Okay, cool. Are there any questions? Jeff, I'm out of time. Is it okay if we do some quick questions real quick?
Absolutely. We got time.
Cool. Any questions? Nate, Lauren's way smarter than me, so ask the hard questions to her, okay? Give me the easy ones.
Unmute yourself on Zoom if you want to chime in.
They're giving me all the easy ones. They're just being quiet. No questions at all. Come on, guys. We're not that good at presenters. There's going to be some questions around this. Any questions?
Okay, I'll bring one up, Adam. So you
Love
talked a lot about what's going on in in Europe and the country. What's a recommendation for a good data source to cite? Because we don't want to be giving people our opinion. We want to be giving them facts and data on what's going on. What's a good site for resources?
You know, yeah, Lauren, go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't know who asked that question, but my first thought that came into my head, your lender. Your lender partner should be your resource for this kind of information if you aren't somebody that is super well versed in this type of information, right? I could send you a link to all the websites in the world. We follow one specifically called MBS Highway, but unless you're very, very well versed in this type of lingo, we'll say, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to come across to clients in a way that is beneficial. I would say really lean on your lender partner and say, how would you address this question? What is going on? How can I explain this to my client who has these questions? That's my suggestion, Adam. If you have something different, go for it.
No, exactly. In fact, let me just, I can't share my screen right now, but what we can do is send you a screenshot of like what MBS Highways and the mortgage-backed security charts look like. It's super confusing.
You
And
can share your screen if you want to, Adam.
I can share my screen now.
I opened it, yep.
All right, 1 second here. Let's see if I can do this. Guys, if you can see this, this is what a mortgage-backed security screen looks like for the daily charts. And it can be very complicated. What's going on with, yield spread premiums, what's going on with inverted morning star patterns and hangman and bullish charts, and what's going on with floors and ceilings of supports over 10 and 100 and 200-day moving averages, what's going on with the 10-year treasury also affects mortgage-backed securities. So when you start doing this, to answer your question, Jeff, like this can get really confusing. Here's another technical chart to figure out what's going on with mortgage-backed securities. I will tell you that like here in Spokane, there are 1,200 mortgage lenders here in Spokane. At least the last I looked was like 3 months ago. There might be less than 1,000 now. I don't know.
There's definitely a lot less.
There's definitely a lot less. There might only be about 20 or 30 of us that are actual certified mortgage advisors that read these charts. So it's very important. I know Chuck's working on his certification and everything and all that, getting in the business. So but he also is interacting with us daily to get this information too. A lot of mortgage lenders don't look at these actual daily charts. They're coached on when a file comes in, lock the loan and move on. You guys know that if you sent me a contract over the weekend on Monday and I locked the loan, as of today, their interest rate would be about 1/4 or 0.5% better potentially with lower pricing, because we didn't lock right away and we waited because there were some changes happening in the market that made pricing better. That's the difference between working with a certified mortgage advisor who knows these things versus working with a lender that just locked them in on Monday and now has cost your client $2,500 in fees that they didn't need to pay. Now, I'm not saying we can get it right every single time, but we're a lot more accurate than the guys that don't read this stuff. So the best source of information for you should be your lender. If you really want, go get an NMLS license and start studying this stuff, but it's a lot of work. It's like, we want you guys, trust me, the lenders, we want you selling the client on getting a home and using us. How you refer to us is super important. So when you're like, well, here's Chuck. Hey, he's a mortgage lender I work with. Good luck. Let me know if he pre-approves you. That doesn't help. Think about it. If I had a client and I was going to refer him back to Emily, I wouldn't be like, here's Emily. She's a realtor in town. Good luck. That's not a good referral. How you refer us is important. How you refer us and how we refer you is important. Build that relationship with your lender and hype them up. Trust your partners. And then what we want you doing is selling them on staying with us. If we have to break some bad news to them about their rate, we don't want them coming to you and you go, oh, that doesn't sound good. I'm worried I'm going to lose the transaction because you're the only transaction I have. So let me go call the bank. Don't do that. Partner with us. That's really important through this because we can navigate the waters together. Cool. Does that answer your question, Jeff?
Yeah, I love that. That was a great answer.
Cool. What other questions do you guys have?
Come on, somebody's got to have a question. Make some shit up.
Yeah.
Besides 2-1 buy down, what's your best strategy right now, or what you're closing the most of?
I missed the last part. Besides 2-1 buy downs, what's your best strategy to what?
What are you closing the most of as far as the type of client and type of buyer?
Good question. So right now, you guys know there's five different types of markets right now. Lauren kind of hit on this a little bit in what she was saying. There's 5 different types of markets, okay? If you don't know this, write this down. This is very important to understand. The highest one in the market is lot and land development. Okay, now we're talking residential, we're not talking commercial. Okay, so lot and land development. This is like your guys that go out and buy 10 acres and they're going to parcel it off and all, that's lot and land development. Number 2 is luxury. And when we talk luxury, we're not talking like a little bit of jumbo, we're talking like the big ones, the $2, $3, $4, $5 million properties, luxury, big money. Super rich people don't want to spend money when they're worried about looking at their portfolio dropping. Okay, we're talking luxury. The third one is investment and second homes. The fourth one is move up. Does anybody need me to explain investment and second homes? We're all good on that, right? We all know what those are? Okay, good. So investment in second homes. The fourth one is move up. Move up is like, I'll give you a good example. One of my real estate agents, we just closed on his house because he had another kid and they're like, we probably shouldn't have all these kids in the same shared room. We need a bigger home. They're going to have to move up. Sucks about the market, but they're moving up. And the fifth one that's always there in any market, always, is first-time home buyers. They're always there because they always hate their rent. Most of the leads we have coming in right now are first-time home buyers and move-up clients. That's what Lauren was hitting on earlier. So where should your marketing be right now? I know, over the last 2 years, you were all luxury listing agents. I get it. You were all luxury listing agents. Everybody and their mother was. I make that joke. We have an agent who actually got his mom into the business, and she was saying she was a luxury listing agent 2 weeks in the business. I said, you are? Oh, good. Congratulations. You know, over the last 2 years, you were all luxury listing agents. I get it. Well, guess what? You're not a luxury listing agent anymore. And if your sole focus is on luxury listing, now maybe a few of you guys are still doing those, that's great. But if your sole focus is on it and you're unwilling to pivot with the market and what's going on, the listings are sitting longer and they're taking price reductions and clients are more frustrated. The faster turnover for you to keep your business going is first-time buyers. It is move-up clients. It's you calling your database. If you've been in real estate for more than 3 years, the average homeowner moves every 3 to 5 years. So start calling all of those people over the last 3 years and ask them what their goal is with owning a home. So where am I getting most of my buyers right now? I'm super focused on move-up and first-time buyers. That's what I'm super focused on. We still have FHA, we still have VA, we're still doing conventional. Like I wouldn't worry about that stuff, but your first-time buyers is where the money's at right now because they all want to get out of their rentals. And guess what? All those first-time buyers, can I give you guys another quick story? I know I'm just eating up time here, but I want to tell you, I have a client. Her name was Kristen. Kristen came to me about 5 years ago. Her and her husband did not qualify. Bad credit, didn't qualify, no money in the bank. They did everything I coached them to do on their finances, with their credit, with their finances. By the way, if you work with a lender who doesn't, like if the client doesn't qualify and they don't leave with a game plan on how to get qualified, fire that lender. Lazy. That's what that is. Okay, that's not what we do. We'll consult anybody and tell them how to get pre-approved. Might take time. Kristen took time. About 1.5 years later, she bought her first house, $185,000 little starter home here in Spokane. Then the market took off. Here's the deal. In 5 years, I did Kristen's first purchase. I did her refinance, and then I did her move up because Erin and her husband had kids. I did her sister's transaction, her sister's refi, her parents' transaction, and their investment property purchase, and Chris's, the husband's best friend, 2 of his buddies from work. So I did the math on this. I've done 11 transactions for almost $4.5 million off of Kristen, who was a first-time buyer who wasn't qualified when she first met me.
Nice.
Try a little harder. It works. I'm very happy I met Kristen. $185,000. Oh, she's not my luxury type client. It's okay. I did a lot of transactions with her. I got paid well off of that. Was there a question in the back? Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question. What's your average first-time homebuyer price point there? Like what's the like loan average there, I guess?
In Spokane, we're for first-time buyer, we're anywhere from like 300 to 350.
I was just curious because you mentioned 130 and I was like, that does not exist anywhere here.
That was 4 years ago. Okay, 4.5 years ago. So a little bit different. Yeah. Yeah.
He's talking about Spokane.
Yeah. We're a little bit different. I think our average home price here is like 500 or something, maybe 460, 475. I'd have to double check, but yeah.
Do you have some short talking, but you gave us a lot of data.
Yeah.
Do you have some short talking points that you recommend us addressing with our buyers and sellers?
Around rates?
Yeah, around what to do. Here's just some quick talking points around what's happening in the market.
Yeah, yeah. As the Fed is trying to stop inflation from getting worse, we're going to watch a lot of market volatility affect interest rates. Here's Chuck. He's the best lender I know. He'll navigate those waters with you. I trust him. You can trust him too. That'd be what I'd say. And then please, Jeff, I'm going to be the bad guy again. Please, real estate agents, please let me be the bad guy. I'll say what Chuck won't tell you. Please stop talking about the rates so much. Just refer it out to a lender that you trust and let us do our job. When you're too involved in the rate communication with no licensing and training behind it and no like understanding of what's going on the technicals, it makes our job harder. It's like if a lender were to show up to your home inspection and start giving advice to the client. I'm not licensed around that stuff. I don't know. You guys start naming like tiles and backsplashes and pergolas and whatever the else you weird words you guys use. I don't know what any of that means. I just know numbers. So you don't want me showing up and negotiating your commission for you, and you don't want me showing up negotiating the home for you. That's your job. I'm going to encourage them to trust you and do that. Does that make sense? So
Guys, that's probably one of the best takeaways from this whole thing is that talking point right there, because of the uncertainty in the market. They don't know what to do. You need to be their guide in this transaction. Eric can tell you about a friend of his, I think up in the Washington area, that his sole goal is to get 20 people in front of his lender. That's his business plan. I get 20 people a month in front of my lender, and that's why I sell so many homes.
He sold 50 his first 2 years in business. That was 3 years ago. And everyone asked, what's your secret? And he goes, I wake up on the first of every month and my goal is to have 20 people talk to my lender, everything else to take care of itself.
Mhm. And it's really important. Sorry, it's really important that you right now, like, I know you have your pick of the litter when it comes to lenders right now, because they're all desperate and they all want your business. There's a handful of us that are not desperate. I don't feel desperate. I know Lauren doesn't feel desperate. I know Chuck doesn't feel desperate. We do the work. We're confident in our skills. I'm not going anywhere. Lauren, are you going to quit this winter? Chuck, you going to quit this winter?
I don't think so.
None of us are going
Backup
anywhere.
plan, my friend. No backup plan.
Yeah. Backup plan. No backup plans. Backup plans give you a way out. So it's very important, like right now that, and it's good for you guys because a lot of these lenders that have been calling you that really don't do the business well, they are going to leave, which is great. But partner with somebody who's going to build this over time. Chuck's resources at Summit are unlike, and by the way, I've worked at 3 other mortgage companies. It's unlike anything I've ever seen being here at Summit. I mean, literally Chuck's got the 2 of us together 30 minutes before this call and was like, we really need to scramble and do this and help. And he tagged in 2 national coaches to come tag in and help you. And by the way, there were a few others that were on standby if Lauren and I didn't do it.
Sure.
Like our resources are super deep because we have always been a realtor first partnered business.
Mhm.
We don't buy leads. We don't do that. Don't ask us to buy leads with you. We don't like leads any more than you like calling leads. They convert at 2%. I'm not a big fan. Sorry, Jeff, if you guys buy a lot of leads. We don't buy a lot of leads. But what we will do, we will help you make more money than any other lender partner will, because we can give you resources to grow your business in a much faster and more efficient way and answer questions with true, honest feedback and information. So yes, partner with your lender, build them up in the same way that you want us to build. Like how many of you would ever partner with Chuck again if you sent him a referral and he said, yeah, Emily's good. Let me refer you to Lauren though. She's pretty good too. Would you ever send Chuck a referral again? Now I know the NAR suggested best practice, refer to 3 lenders, blah, blah, blah. Look, through these waters, we're in a hurricane. We're not in calm waters where everybody does the same thing. 2 years ago, everybody had a 2.5% interest rate. It's not the same now. So refer your 3. Sorry, Jeff, refer your 3. But be super intentional about who you work with in your business and who your clients work with. That matters more than anything right now.
Did you guys say you're in all states?
We lend in,
I think we went in
Most-
47 states. So
yeah,
almost 50. I couldn't tell you what the 3 are that we don't do, but we're pretty all over the place.
New York.
They're probably in the Northeast. I'm just guessing.
yeah, somewhere, well, some small state somewhere, I'm sure. Yeah, yeah. But yes, we're mostly everywhere, and we have branches all over the country and stuff like that too that work with us. And then we also, because like Lauren and I come out of a background with a ton of resources, like we have partnerships with even other lenders that have one-off products at other companies too. Chuck will tell you, we have this running sales chat with about, I think there's like 20 of us, and the majority of us are all top 1% producers as well. And we have huge resources. So if you send a like crazy one-off loan that like, you're like, can this even be done? If there's a way to do it, we will find it or give you the information you need to figure it out, because we also have partnerships with other companies too that we can help.
Yeah.
Mhm. Cool.
Awesome, guys. Hey,
Yes.
Chuck, come back up here. You got anything you want to kind of close us out with, and then we'll.
Well, I think, I don't know if I could say it any better than those guys have already. Summit funding and myself personally, I'd love to meet all of you guys and create that partnership with you. I'm not someone who is just in it to make a quick buck and blow up my own ego. My goal is to create a relationship where we work together. That's where I want to be. You know, I do well. I retired from the military. I'm pretty fortunate that I have the financial backing to be able to do this. This is what I love. I love helping people, creating that value and having providing that customer service and helping that person that maybe doesn't think that they can qualify or that they even know how to get there. And so that's where I love that that challenge. And I love to cook barbecue too. So if we're ready to eat, like I'm ready to feed you guys. So,
Hey, Adam, Lauren, we appreciate you guys. Thanks for jumping on last minute. Chuck, thanks for filling in last minute. You were gonna be here anyway, but performed in a big way. You guys get value.
Jeff, can I?
Thank
have
you,
one
guys.
question?
This was an honor to be here.
Thank you for
I
having
have-
us very
I have
much.
one question. I have
Yeah.
one question. Can I have your contact information, Adam and Lauren? Since I am in here in Spokane, and Adam, you did come to one of my open houses a couple years ago. I don't know if you saw
Oh,
that in
cool.
the chat or not.
Yeah, yeah.
You'll probably
I'll
remember the house when I tell you where it was, but if I can have your address, your phone number and stuff like that,
yeah.
Lauren's Eugene, Eugene, Oregon. Yeah.
So if anyone needs contact information, I'll be happy to connect all of you. And just let me know. My information is at the top of the chat, and I'll be happy to put you together with Adam or Lauren, or if you have another state that you're interested in, we've got great lenders all across the country that we can put you in touch with.
Awesome. Okay,
okay.
guys, let's have some lunch and let's network a little bit. Okay. All right. Thanks,
Thank you very
guys.
much. Thank
You guys
you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in. Good value today. It was awesome. Thanks again, Adam, Lauren. You guys are awesome. Okay, see you guys.